Warning, this guide features early strats. Better strats can and will be found if they haven't already, so be mindful. Hi guys, and welcome to a Hector lecture guide to the fight M7S. This is Hector. For this guide, you're going to want to use standard clock spots. You'll need corner positions for a couple of mechanics. And finally, spreads. The fight starts with Brutal Impact. This is a raid wide that's going to hit for 6 total hits this time. Next up, the boss will cast Stoneringer and spawn either a club or a sword. Just like in normal mode, the club means out, the sword means in. This will immediately get used with either Smash Here or Smash There. Smash Here targets the nearest player for a shared tank buster, so to deal with this, we dodge out, and then the tanks move in together with cooldowns. You can also take this with one tank with an invuln. For Smash There and the club, we start out, and this time the party makes sure they get in the hitbox so the tanks are the furthest out. If when the boss casts Stoneringer, we get the sword instead. For Smash Here, everybody starts in, and the party slides out afterwards so that the tanks are the nearest. For Smash There, everybody starts in, and the tanks slide out afterwards so that they're the furthest. Whichever buster you get, this will be followed with Spore Sack, which is going to drop down 4 AoEs. These are then going to start to spread out vines, spawn more AoEs in a pattern that looks like this, as well as spawn some adds. Just to show you that while the vines can move in different directions, the only possible safe spots at the end of this are going to be what I originally showed, or this mirrored version. Now, this mechanic gets complicated because it's combined with something called Sinister Seeds, so I'm going to bring this to the chalkboard. Sinister Seeds is going to target 4 players with puddle AoEs, and 4 players with these pink AoEs that will eventually drop a Starburst AoE. The puddle players are going to bait 4 total puddles, while the Starburst AoEs are going to be in set positions and drop them where they're supposed to. Everyone's going to dodge these Starburst AoEs, while in light parties taking light party stacks. Afterwards, any puddles dropped are going to explode again, but much larger, so we need to avoid them. This mechanic is baited by proximity, sort of. The 4 nearest players are going to get one mechanic, and the 4 furthest are going to get the other mechanic, but as to who gets what, well, that's random. So now let's show you possible solves for this. There's 2 major plans, so I'm going to show you first the Toxic Friends or Raidplan version. In this version, you can solve it the same regardless of who gets what. So for this, when the boss casts Spore Sack, everybody stacks south. You wait for the AoEs to appear, and you slide into the safe spot in the south. While doing this, we make sure that our melees and tanks are the nearest player, and our healers and range are the furthest player, so that they correctly bait a roll together. Whichever players get the pink AoEs, they are always going to go to these exact spots, our corners that we discussed earlier. You're going to stand on the circle on the ground on the floor. Whichever players get the puddles, they need to run out to the corner, and then split up group 1 left, group 2 right. This does mean right now for melees that this is going to be a little bit of downtime. While baiting the puddles, tanks can start to pick up the adds. They can use tomahawks or whatever range attack they got and provoke to be able to grab aggro on them, to a piece preferably. Afterwards, everybody's going to dodge together east-west, take the light party stacks, and then immediately go opposite the corner you started, because that's going to be safe from all the puddles. Now here's Kindred Uptime. This avoids the downtime, but it does require learning different movement based on who gets puddles and who gets the pink AoEs. For this one, have group 1 west, group 2 east. Melees are going to use the inner safe spots, and range are going to use the outer safe spots. Here I have range getting the pink AoEs. For where to drop these, the healer's going to go left, the DPS is going to go right, facing the boss, and you're going to drop these out on the cardinal. The melees are just going to loop around clockwise. After 4 puddles, the melees should end up right back in one of the corners where the healer started, and so we're going to collapse together into light parties. Be aware these may not be the original light parties. It might be the melees from group 1 with the range from group 2, but it doesn't matter. It should just be a 4-4 split. Afterwards, immediately go out at the corner, because the AoEs middle are going to go off. Kindred Uptime again, but here's with the roles reversed. So once again, group 1 west, group 2 east. Melees in, ranged out. And this time the melees get the pink AoEs. We're going to drop these Starburst. Very similar to the Toxic Friends version, but more in. Max melee is what's specified in the raid plan here. And then the healers in range are just going to do a loop clockwise. At the end of all 4 puddles being dropped, the Starburst AoEs go off, and there should be very tiny safe spots east-west. Use eyes for this, because if anybody's a little bit off in their positioning, these spots are small. Afterwards, pull the adds middle, as that'll dodge the puddles. However you deal with the previous mechanic, we now need to deal with the adds. They are all going to be casting an interruptible cast. 2 of them are casting a donut, Winding Wildwind, and the other 2 are casting Crossing Crosswind, which is a cross AoE. The donut's more dangerous, as based on their positioning, sometimes there's no safe spot, so we want to deal with those first. Have your tanks use their interject. Hopefully your tanks can each interject 1, but if not, your Fizz Range is the backup plan. They can use Head Graze to interrupt the other. With good DPS and Cleave, you might be able to kill 1 or 2 of these adds before this goes off. However, if any of them are not dying, respect the AoE, dodge it, and then just kill them afterwards. If you don't kill the adds quick enough, they're going to start to cast Hurricane Force, which will serve as an enrage, so make sure to kill them. Afterwards, the boss likes to ice skate around as it clips through some of the adds, so don't be alarmed if the boss is moving weirdly. When you see Quarry Swamp, go hide behind one of the adds to line of sight it. We're then going to get 3 proximity AoEs as cameras come crashing down. Respect these. These hurt. There's a massive drop-off. If you are too near to them, you will take lethal damage very quickly. Wait until the first camera drops down, and then start to rotate in the same direction that the camera spawned. Healers and tanks, watch out. See if you can mitigate anybody who takes extra damage here. You'll notice that the boss stopped spinning because in the middle of it, it cast Stoneringer and spawned either a club or a sword. Have whichever tanks are dealing with this go in front of the boss and resolve the smash here or smash there. Here I'm showing a tank dealing it with Invul. Smash here so they go in. Immediately after this, have everybody stack up middle as Pulp Smash targets a healer with a stack. That's immediately followed by Protean Wave, so everybody goes out at their clock spots. There's a small out AoE as well with these, so make sure you get far from the boss. Finally, the boss will cast Neo Bombarian Special, and make sure that you're positioned all the way at the north, as you'll get knocked to the next arena. And we begin Phase 2. For all of Phase 2, be aware that True North is over on the left side of my screen. I've just oriented it this way so you can see things a little bit better. Head over towards the True North wall, as the boss will land untargetable, cling onto the wall, and then wait for a purple flash of an auto attack to know that the boss is targetable. From here, the boss will cast Stoneringer, and we get either a club or a sword. Here it's a sword, so it's an in. They will then tether to one of the other 2 walls on the outside, and everybody needs to go near it this time because it's an in. Dodge the in, and immediately start to spread on either side of the boss. That's because the boss follows up with Glower Power very quickly. This is both a line AoE in front of the boss and spreads. For these side Glower Powers, where the boss is on one of the side pillars, we use these spread positions. The boss will follow this with Revenge of the Vines, which is a raid-wide. And then Thorny Deathmatch. This is going to have the top player in aggro get a vine, and since we're going to see these a lot throughout the fight, I want to explain them quickly. If you are near to the boss, you have the 1 tick of the debuff. This does not hurt very hard, but it's a very light damage over time. Go slightly further away, and it changes into a 2 tick. This hurts a little bit more, but is still perfectly fine even for non-tanks. Go very far away, and you're going to get a 3 tick. This is dangerous. 3 ticks can hit for up to 100k on non-tank players, and so too many ticks of this are going to kill people. Try to avoid 3 tick where you can. And never stretch the tether to the point where it becomes a 4 tick, as these are basically lethal every time that they tick. Be aware that since this tether is aggro-based, off-tank can provoke if they want to take the tether off. The boss will cast Stoneringer and load up either a club or a sword, and then we get Abominable Blink. This is a flare marker that will go on one of the top 2 players in aggro. Whichever tank does not get the flare should provoke so that they have the tether, and the flare tank can either go far with cooldowns, or they can just hide in the corner here while everyone else goes max melee. This attack hurts, so make sure that the tank uses plenty of cooldowns and that the party is also mitigated. Afterwards, we get Spore Explosion, and this is just a standard 3-to-1 dodge. You might not always be able to do a 3-to-1 depending on the pattern, so you may have to settle for a 2-to-1 dodge. Dodge into one of the first AoEs, and as it happens, the boss will load up a Brutish Swing, so get ready to position ready to dodge this. Here I'm going to show how the tanks and melees keep as much uptime as possible. They slide over to the far side, wait for the boss to go, immediately gap close, and then walk out of the AoE. The timing's tight, so don't have to do it if you find it a little scary. Immediately afterwards, Spread for Glower Power. Same positions as before, just inverted. And Revenge of the Vines is a raid-wide. Next up, the boss will cast Demolition Deathmatch. For this, we're going to get another Vine on our top player in aggro, but we're also going to get 2 proximity tethers that go onto the nearest player to any of the other 2 columns. Note that right now, these are able to be picked up by another player who just walks through the tether, so if somebody's positioned incorrectly, you can fix it. Once they change into vines, they can no longer be swapped. We'll get an Abominable Blink, and we'll deal with it the same way as before, with a tank with a flare in the corner. And then the boss will cast Strange Seeds, and this is what seems like a simple mechanic made very complicated that has a number of different solutions. So let's break this down on the chalkboard. First off, 2 at a time, players are going to get targeted for these Starburst AoE markers. This will always be 1 support and 1 DPS at the same time, and it repeats 4 times until all 8 players have been targeted. At the very end, either all supports or all DPS are targeted with a stack, and so we pair up. These will also drop Starburst AoEs, so we simply dodge out of them. And all of this would not be so complicated if it were not for the fact that one of our tanks and 2 other players of our choice are constantly tethered to walls. So there are like a dozen different solutions for this going around. I'm going to showcase for you Locked Seeds, which is the one that I personally did and found really consistent, but I'm also going to show quickly the EU's version of Fixed Seeds as well as Bili Bili. Pick whichever one your group finds most comfortable. For Locked Seeds, our Fizz range is going to pick up the tether on the wall opposite the boss, and one of our healers will pick up the true north tether. Our Fizz range is only ever going to use these 2 spots. They use the square for odd drops and the circle for even drops, and they are just going to keep hopping square, circle, circle for the whole mechanic. Our healer is doing the same, if we look in the bottom left corner, with these 2 spots, and they similarly will keep swapping square, circle for the whole mechanic. Everybody else on the boss, we're going to split supports left facing the boss, DPS right facing the boss. So supports are going to be using these for their drops. DPS will be using these spots for their drops. And whenever the people on the boss are not dropping a seed, they hang out in the chill zone. This will be safe from any of the drops. So let's show this mechanic. 2 players get targeted, and this is the first drop, so we go to the squares. Now both of our tethered players far from the boss will swap to the circle automatically. The players targeted go out to the circles for the second drops, and everybody else hides in the chill zone. Third drop, so these go on squares. Fourth drop, so these go on circles. Afterwards, everybody can hide. The tethered players far go back to the squares, while everyone else can chill in the chill zone if they want. And then we're going to start moving towards our partner stack positions. For this, we're going to have the untethered healer in range go with the opposite role on their tether. This is quite a bit of movement for the caster, but with this pattern here, the caster was going to have to go over to this side of the arena anyways for the next mechanic, so it's actually helpful. The stacks go on, and we pair up like this. We're all out on the outer drop positions, which means everyone can either dodge to a circle or the chill zone. I really like this pattern because this is consistent. There's no possible way that things can get goofed up. There's no cursed patterns that can happen. It works the same way every time. If the boss is on this wall, these are the positions we're using instead. You'll notice that H2, who's tethered to the north wall, has the exact same positions, and everyone else just has inverted positions. The floor pattern is also inverted, so relative to the floor pattern, your position is exactly the same. And here would be the final pair positions. In this pattern here, the caster doesn't have to move as much. Now, if you don't like that, or if you're rating on Party Finder in EU almost exclusively uses what's called Fixed Seeds. Fixed Seeds is going to use these spots here, and I'm using smaller symbols because the positioning is much tighter. What we're going to do is we're going to have each of our players stand directly on top of one of these spots, and for the most part, you don't move. That's because if I show the AoEs over top, you'll see that everybody gets missed by each of the AoEs. Now, if you sit there thinking it looks like people are getting clipped, remember that a player's hitbox is only the pixel in the very middle of their body, and so while these are going to be some tight dodges, technically everybody is avoiding these as long as they're positioned perfectly. You do have to do a little bit of movement for this, because when you drop your seed, you then need to move on to another player to be able to dodge your drops. Use eyes during this in case people are slightly off with their positioning. This can lead to some messy patterns. This is a particularly horrible one here. In this case, M2 is probably going to have to dodge to downtime to avoid getting clipped anywhere. Just to show, these are the final pair positions if you're doing fixed seeds. And finally, here's everything but with the boss on the other wall. The only major difference is that off-tank is now taking the true north tether to make this plan work. Finally, this is Bili Bili. It's basically like an earlier version of the EU fixed seeds, and they use waymarks to try to show some of the positions. And the main difference is that both M2 and H2 have a harder time keeping uptime than with the EU fixed seeds. I'm showing this just in case you still want to keep doing Bili Bili and NA. If so, it works almost exactly as how I just showed EU fixed seeds. The positions are inverted, and just like with EU fixed seeds, you're going to have tanks taking the tethers, so they have main tank taking the north wall, and they have off tank taking the boss tether. However you resolve this, be aware that the boss was loading up either a club or a sword in the middle of the mechanic. They'll tether one of the walls, and it's a brutish swing. Here I'm going to show them jumping to the north wall, just because, while this is the same, the glower power spreads afterwards are slightly different because they're now on the north wall. Spread like this. Heal up through the raid wide, and then prepare for a hard-hitting raid wide power slam, which will be our transition into phase 3. As we land down, you'll see that there's waymarks currently on this. You cannot place these initially, but anybody who's cleared the fight can place these waymarks, so if you jump into Party Finder and find somebody who's already cleared, they can probably give you these waymarks. The boss will land down, and you want to put your second pots and your 2 minutes into the boss to do some big damage. The boss will cast Brutal Impact, and this is now going to hit for 7 hits. Every cast after this will be an 8-hitter. The boss casts Stoneringer 2 Stone Ringers, and we get a sword and a club, and one of them will start to glow alongside Brutish Swing. This is going to be an out from the wall that the boss is jumping to, but at the same time, you'll notice that everybody's already started cheating towards the 1-4 side. It's because this will be followed up by a lariat, and the safe side for the lariat is always on the non-glowing weapon side. So in this case, the side of the sword. The boss casts the out, and make sure you've mitigated before this goes off, because immediately afterwards is an untelegraphed hard-hitting raid wide. Position for the lariat. Again, the side that has a weapon is always the safe side. And then immediately the boss will cast Brutish Swing again, and so we need to position in. We're already going to start to cheat towards spread positions for this, because immediately afterwards we get a glower power, and so we're going to spread like this to dodge it. The boss will follow this with Slaminator. This can be shared with the entire group, but just have a tank involve it, and they can take it solo. We then get a Brutal Impact for 8 hits, and then a Stoneringer into Smash Here, Smash There combo, like from Phase 1. Now the big one. Debris Deathmatch. At the end of the cast, 4 proximity tethers, 1 from each cardinal wall, and we want these to go onto the ranged. From this point onwards, this is basically a hard body check mechanic, because if one of these ranged dies, the tether will snap onto a melee, and it will likely kill them with a 4-tick before they even have time to react. The boss will cast Spore Sack, and we get a similar set of AoEs. Simply slide out of these. And now we're going to dodge these, but where possible, we want to do it without our range players stretching their tethers too far, so the best thing for them to do would be to go to the corner. If you go to the corner, it should stay as a 2-tick, so it won't hurt very hard. R2 right now is likely getting a 3-tick and taking very heavy damage and might die from it. Where possible, have your tanks throw short cooldowns each on one of the range players to try to increase the chance everyone survives. While this is going off, we're going to get all supports or all DPS targeted with a stack, and we take these back to our cardinal and drop these in pairs. If you position these nicely on the wall, they should leave clean, safe spots. Again, have your healers in range go more to the side rather than in to minimize the chance that they get a 3-tick of the tether. You don't want to stretch those vines too long. While this is going off, have your tanks take aggro each on the adds. Main tank should take the north and west add. Off tank should take the south and east add. Afterwards, our range are going to go back onto the wall, and main tank and off tank are going to position northwest and southeast to be able to position the adds like you see here. Don't need to worry about the adds doing anything. Don't even need to damage them this time, because they're going to get petrified and then instantly killed before we need to actually do anything. The boss will start to cast Quarry Swamp, and now the trick is we need everybody to be able to line of sight the boss. When the tanks move to hide, one of the adds is going to move and the safe spot for the range players will change. So to keep this consistent, have your tanks always dodge north-south for this. This means that healers can expect that their add's going to rotate a little bit clockwise just before the attack, and so they can anticipate it. If done correctly, the adds get petrified, and any instance of damage after that will instantly kill them, so you don't need to worry about DPSing them down. Afterwards, we position for Sinister seeds. Ranged players all go to the far left side of their wall, while the tanks and melees are going to stack up northwest. Just like before, there's two possible patterns. Here I'm going to show with ranged players getting puddles, and tanks and melees getting the pink starburst AoEs. Tanks and melees simply go to their corner and are going to position on the waymark to drop it, while healers in range are just going to run from left to right along their wall. After 4 puddles, the starburst AoEs go off, and the vines are gone. Range can move freely. Everybody dodges in. There are no light party stacks this time, so just get to a safe spot in middle. And there will be a pulp smash to finish with. Make sure you're in tightly enough that you don't get clipped by one of the expanding puddles. And then everybody stacks middle before going to true north clock spots. Here we are with the opposite pattern. This one is tougher. If Sinister Seeds gets cast and the tanks and melees get the puddles, healers in range are going to position in the middle of their cardinal on the wall, while tanks and melees are going to do a clockwise loop. At the very end of this, range players, especially in this case H2 and R1, need to hustle to get over towards the 4 corner, as we're going to dodge all of the puddles in the middle in that corner. The boss will prepare a pulp smash. After the AoEs go off, stack underneath the boss, and then we're going to do our clock spots, but we're going to do them relative to this corner where the boss is facing. So position like this if you're doing it in the 4 corner. Afterwards, we get another 8-hit Brutal Impact, and then Stoneringer 2 Stoneringers again. This is very similar to the first time it happened, but with slightly less mechanics. The only addition is we're going to have some strange seed drops. Right now, players are already cheating towards their corner, because initially either all supports or all DPS will get targeted, and they're going to drop these in the corners. The boss will cast Brutish Swing, and if you look here, there will always be a safe spot from the Starbursts in front of where the boss is, one in, one out. Here, because it's out first, everybody's just going to take the outer safe spot. The AoEs will go off, and everybody's going to cheat over towards the safe side from the Lariat that's coming. There's no raid wide this time. The Lariat goes off, and during the Lariat, you're going to see that some of our players are already cheating towards where they're going to drop seeds. Since supports got targeted first, DPS are about to be targeted, and they need to get to their corners to drop very quickly. Here they are. They immediately run and drop them neatly on their corners. Brutish Swing is cast. And again, there's a safe spot directly in front of where the boss is about to go, so we take the inner safe spot. Wait for Brutish Swing to go off. No Glower power this time, but there is another Slaminator, and again, I strongly recommend just having your other tank in Volnus. Finally, we get a Stoneringer into Smash Here or There combo, another 8-hit Brutal Impact, and if the boss is still alive, they will cast Special Bombarian Special. Take them down before they get this cast off, or it's game over. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.